is going to go has 246. It takes 270 to win. Florida has been moved for the second time tonight back into the we don't know category. Early it was called for Gore, pull back, then called for Bush, now pull back. Nobody knows how it's going to go. Recount highly probable. Now, for those of you who may have gone to bed and thought Florida had been called for Bush and therefore Bush had won the presidency, we want to bring you up to date. Gore called Bush, then he retracted his congratulatory telephone call, and then Bill Daley, who's chairman of the Gore campaign, came out to make this statement about an hour ago.
I have some news to share with all of you tonight. Let me say, I've been in politics a very long time, but I don't think there's ever been a night like this one. Just an hour or so ago, the TV networks called this race for Governor Bush. It now appears that their call was premature. Let me be very clear about this. According to the information supplied by the Secretary of State of Florida, with 99.9% of the vote counted, there is a margin of only about 1,200 votes out of millions cast, with over 5,000 votes left to be counted. This is a very significant, for most important reason, and that is, for under Florida state law, this triggers an automatic recount, and as everyone knows in America, this race has come down to the state of Florida. Without being certain of the results in Florida, we simply cannot be certain of the results of this national election. Let me add that Vice President Gore and Senator Lieberman are fully prepared to concede and to support Governor Bush if and when he is officially elected president. But this race is simply too close to call. And until the recount is concluded and the results in Florida become official, our campaign continues. So let me, yes, so let me thank all of you. Let me thank all of you on behalf of Vice President Al Gore and Senator Joe Lieberman for waiting out here so late tonight, and we hope to have you back very soon. Thank you very much. Good night.
Now, about an hour ago, that's what Gore's man Daley said. He mentioned that he thought the difference was Bush was leading by about 1,200 votes. The Bush lead at last report was down to just over 200 votes. Shortly after Bill Daley came out, down in Austin, Don Evans, the Bush campaign chairman, came out and made this statement.
Governor Bush and Secretary Cheney asked me to thank you for all your terrific support and hard work. We hope and believe we have elected the next President of the United States. The latest vote count in the state of Florida shows Governor Bush winning that state by more than 1,200 votes. They're still counting, and I'm confident when it's all said and done, we will prevail. Thank you again for all your hard work and all of your efforts, and we look forward to a great celebration. God bless.
Now, after he made that statement, Bush's lead in Florida dropped on down to just over 200 votes, with still some votes to be counted. How many, we don't know. As of now, Gore trails by about 900 votes in Florida. This is new information just in. Gore trails by about 900 votes in Florida. That still would be something on the order of 1/3 of 1% of the total vote of 6 million votes cast in Florida. Bush still leads in Florida, but it's close enough where there's very likely going to be a recount, and that will take hours. if not days, to finally get that squared away. Byron Pitts is on the phone about the Florida vote. Byron, what have you found out?
Well, Dan, two bits of new information. A short time ago, the Florida State Attorney General Bob Butterworth announced that there will be a recount in Florida later today. He said it was his hope that the election workers may be allowed to go home, get a few hours sleep. He said, quote, that no one here is quite sharp right now. They'll be allowed to go home and rest, and then they'll return and the recount will begin. Secondly, we're hearing from the Gore campaign that they're getting complaints, they allege, from some of their supporters in places like Duval County in North Florida and Dade County in South Florida, that there were some discrepancies with the ballot, that many of their supporters say that when they went to vote, the way the ballot was configured, that they unintentionally voted for Pat Buchanan when they meant to vote for Al Gore. That's one of the issues that the Gore people are raising as to why there should be a recount. That there may be something wrong with the numbers in Duval County and Dade County. But again, Bob Butterworth, the Attorney General, said the recount will occur at some point later today in Florida once the workers get a few hours sleep. Dan?
Byron Pitts in Florida. That gives us a headline for this hour. Attorney General in Florida says there will be a recount, which means we won't know who the next president of the United States is going to be for quite a while yet. 249 for Gore, 246 for Bush, with 270 needed to win. In the national overall count, Gore has a slight lead over Bush now in the popular vote. Dan Rather, CBS News. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Open your eyes to a world unlike anything you've seen before. From director Ron Howard, Dr. Seuss's classic tale comes to life. Jim Carrey is The Grinch. Rated PG. At theaters Friday, November 17th.
To get the most tender, juicy turkey,
How come you never look at me like this?
all it takes is a little patience.
Okay, I think it's time.
And a butterball.
Here we go.
The best of all is butterball.
21, 22, 23, 24.
364.
365.
24.
365.
24.
365.
Chevrolet, supporting U.S. Olympians 24/7, 365.
I've taken care of this garden from the very first seedling. We need each other. But when I got arthritis, I thought my gardening days were over. Then my doctor encouraged me to keep at it, because staying active helps keep joints from getting stiff. And to make it easier, he recommends Advil. It's the #1 recommended medicine of its kind for arthritis pain, and it's gentle on my stomach. My doctor's right. Advil and gardening work beautifully.
Advil, stronger than pain.
My brother's son said he had an idea that'd make us rich.
That funny-looking kid said that.
Said we can use the internet.
The internet. We ain't selling books, we're selling feed, and we already sell every ranch in the county.
Harlan, you ever been outside the county? Well?
Give me a minute, I'm thinking.
Can Jim's beloved station wagon
Pretty cherry, huh?
survive the Big Apple?
The car is.
The hellish eyesore.
I was gonna say hard to parallel park.
All new Welcome to New York tonight.
A wrongful conviction made him a fugitive. His search for the real killer made him a hunter. Friday, Dr. Richard Kimball
Put the gun down.
will become a hostage.
Go! Go! This never should have happened.
Problem is, it did.
You won't believe what happens next. The Fugitive, all new CBS Friday.
Headline of the hour. Florida Attorney General says there will be a recount in Florida. Bush clinging to a lead of some 200-plus votes in Florida, we believe, possibly a few more than that. We're facing the real possibility, it's not yet a certainty, but the real possibility that the man who wins the overall popular vote could lose the Electoral College vote. Right now, in the nationwide overall popular vote, looking over here trying to get it up on your screen, Al Gore leads by 263,000 votes nationwide. Not all the votes have been counted. If this trend it set in about an hour and a half ago continues, Gore would win the popular vote. But in the electoral vote, with 270 needed to win, and the electoral vote is decisive, Gore, on a state-by-state basis, we think has a confirmed 249. Bush has a confirmed 246, with 270 needed to win. It all gets down to Florida, and in Florida, Bush has a paper-thin lead in the fight for the 25 electoral votes. There will be a recount, says the state attorney general, and there are absentee ballots to come in, and as close as it is, they may have to wait for those absentee ballots before anybody can be certified as a winner in Florida. Wisconsin and Oregon, Wisconsin with 11, Oregon with 7 electoral votes, they remain undecided, but right now, Florida, and this will remain, the man who wins Florida, make no mistake about it, will be the next president of the United States, even if it turns out to be George Bush, and even if George Bush does not win the overall national popular vote. Hillary Clinton has won a New York Senate seat. Chuck Robb, a veteran Democratic senator in Virginia, has lost his. 249 to 246, Gore leads in the Electoral College vote with 270 needed to win. Dan Rather, we'll be back. Well, a lot of possibilities are opening up here, none of them leading to any fast knowledge of who's going to be the next president of the United States. In this unprecedented situation, the Florida Attorney General, has been reported by CBS's Byron Pitts, has said there will be a recount in Florida. That's bound to take hours, could take up to 12 or 13 hours, and that's a recount of the votes already counted. There are absentee ballots coming in from overseas that won't be in for days. Some of them may not be in for weeks. Now, since the issue of recount has been opened, and since Bush is now, although he leads in Florida, in some peril of perhaps losing Florida, who is to say that Bush won't ask for recounts in some other close states? Ed Bradley can fill us in on that.
Well, Dan, it's possible that other recounts can be asked for in both Iowa and Wisconsin. Gore has been declared the winner in Iowa now, and he's leading by a bit in Wisconsin. If Bush loses Florida, he could ask for a recount in Iowa and in Wisconsin because the winning margin for Al Gore there is so low. But he would need to ask. But you can bet your bottom dollar, if he does lose Florida, he's certain to ask for recounts in those 2 states.
True enough. Our focus continues to be on Florida, and I keep saying to myself, so I'm going to say to you, we recognize that some people are just now getting up. And many of you may have gone to bed last night believing that George Bush had been elected president of the United States, and you had reason to believe that because everybody that we know of in the exit poll business had taken a look at the sample, made their judgments, had the data put into computers, and had moved Florida and its 25 electoral votes into the Bush column. But the actual votes counted began to narrow down. Bush's lead evaporated to a very large extent, and so CBS, as well as some others, have now pulled Florida back into the we don't know category. Not our best night, not our best situation, but we do the best we can, and in an election this unprecedentedly close, I suppose it was bound to happen. Now, in the Electoral College, and that's what's decisive, the Electoral College, Bob Schieffer, we have only a few seconds here, but all electors in all states are not bound to vote for the person that they've told people to vote for.
I double-checked this just to make sure, but in 26 of the states, the electors are not bound by law, only by history and tradition. That's not to say they would vote the other way than the way they were instructed to vote, but they don't have to.
Well, that
They're just
raises,
thoroughly confused.
Well, it's thoroughly confusing, but it's important information to know in a race this close. What is hoped, of course, is that eventually there'll be a firm vote in Florida. The man who wins Florida will be declared the winner because he'll have the most electoral votes, and that will be that. But all kinds of possibilities are now opened up, and some of them not too good. Recount in Florida, going to take hours, maybe recounts in other states such as Iowa, which we believe has been carried by Gore, but by a small margin, and in Wisconsin, where it's still out there. And this whole business of the Electoral College, we could have a situation where Gore, who's now leading in the overall national vote, loses in the Electoral College, according to the